Okay, so first thing we're going to do with our little cooking lesson is we're going to teach you guys how to make a Canadian candle, is what we call it, Canadian candle. Some people call it a Swedish torch too, but we call it a Canadian candle. Okay, so the first thing I did is I went and found a dead, dry, standing tree. I went and cut a section out of it, 12 to 16 inches. You don't really need it much longer than that. And then I checked it to make sure it wasn't rotten. And I could hear a night when I tap on it with my hatchet or my axe or whatever I'm using, I can hear that it's good and solid. Then what we're going to do, we're going to split it into 4 pieces and then we'll move on from there. So I know I told you guys I don't recommend a hatchet for you because you haven't learned how to use one properly yet. As you can see, I'm not doing a lot of crazy wild swinging. I'm splitting a chunk of wood, but I went and got myself a club to hammer down on it. So I'm not worried about swinging through and missing and hitting myself. So once we've got those 4 pieces split, we're going to break off any extras. We take our hatchet. We're going to carve out a little hollow in the center and a little bit towards the top of our candle. As you guys can see, I've set up 2 logs here. I found a spot where I can chop where it's not resting on the ground. That's going to make it a lot more effective. Otherwise, when you hit it, basically your log sinks into the ground and you lose a lot of the force. So I'm going to carve this out. And we're going to make sure we save all these wood shavings because they will be going back in. So I don't know if you can see that or not, but we made a hollow in it. So here's the natural piece, and here's where we've cut that little hollow. I'll do that with the other 3, and then we'll get back to it. Okay guys, so I've went through and I've made a notch in all of them, notching out the center and a little bit on the top. Then what I'm going to do, it's actually easier if you mark them prior to, but you're going to figure out how they went together initially, because we're going to be putting this back together now. So remember how I said I'm always walking through, and anytime I'm finding good tinder, I'm making sure I grab it. So I passed by a birch tree, so I made sure that I got grabbed some birch bark on the way. I'm going to take that and put that inside some dead spruce, like that. I'm going to put some of these wood shavings back in here. One thing I should mention, I also left the edges of these rough. I didn't bother smoothing them off. I made a few extra little cuts in there with my hatchet and left them rough like that. This one in this. I might have a few too many spruce twigs in there. It's not too bad. Okay, now I'm going to take a piece of snare wire. I always carry that in my pack for making snares or something like this. So just a thin gauge wire, steel or brass. I don't know if you guys can see that or not. There's how big it is in comparison to my thumb. Very thin wire. I'm going to put that back together. I'm going to wrap the wire around it. I'm going to give it a twist. And then I'm going to take this pair of pliers and cut that off there. I'm going to twist it in the same direction so it holds this together. We'll do the same on the bottom. I could have just went one in the middle too, but I like going one on the top, one on the bottom. Take these, I'm going to top them with my hatchet because I want that all nice and flat. Slide that up just a hair. Now don't be worried about gaps in here because you're going to need it for air flow. So I'm going to move this over to my cooking area. We're going to light it and I'm going to use it to boil the water on my for my coffee while I show you guys how I'm going to make my lunch.